Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw and it's all about the narcissistic personality disorder to give you more understanding of the people you might have been dealing with in your life, the people you might have been around in your life, how to handle those people or how to handle yourself around those people, how to go no contact if that's what you need to do, and how to recover from narcissistic abuse and move on to a much happier life. If you do find the information on this channel helpful, please hit the subscribe button. This video is about boundaries, how narcissistic people take down our boundaries and control us through our boundaries, and how to recover and start creating our new boundaries. When it comes to a narcissist, they are quite arrogant. They believe they are special. They think they're entitled to do as they please, to do what they want when they want. They can exploit people to meet a need of their own with the lack of empathy to care for who they hurt along the way. Narcissists, although they have those same underlying traits, they do use different manipulation methods to achieve this. As they are all about control, they use boundaries to control who we are as a person, and there is lots of different ways they will use to achieve this, to meet a need of their own. When it comes to boundaries, a narcissist can do this. If it's your parents, you might have had very strict boundaries growing up, so you grew to fear saying no to people for fear of reactions that you received as a child from your parents. If it's a partner, when you meet them, those deep heart-to-heart conversations in the beginning where you think you're getting to know each other, the narcissist is actually collecting data. They're finding out your vulnerabilities, they're finding out your insecurities, they're finding out about your weaknesses so that they can use each and every one against you in the future. They might ask you questions that you feel quite uncomfortable in answering, and normally people wouldn't ask you those sorts of things, or you wouldn't answer them. But narcissists have that false charm about them where they might bring up a similar sort of experience that they've lived to get you to open up about your experience, so that you almost build that trust with each other based upon past trauma, not realizing that they want to use your past trauma against you. When it comes to boundaries, countries have borders, and they have different borders. Some are surrounded by other countries and have walls up. Some are surrounded by sea. Countries all have different borders. You have to meet certain requirements to get through the border to be allowed into that country, to protect the country from people that they believe would exploit the country, that would use the country, that would hinder the country. And that's the same with us. When we go on those dates with people, our boundaries are not to hurt somebody else. They're not to take somebody else down. They're to protect us, to not let people in that are going to exploit us. When it comes to a narcissist, they get angry, they get frustrated, they get annoyed, they fall on the silent treatment, they get vengeful when you don't allow them to take down your boundary, when they lose control, when they don't get their own way. When it comes to us, we can get hurt, we can feel angry, we can feel annoyed, we can want to seek revenge when someone keeps chipping away at us and taking down boundary after boundary after boundary, exploiting us for our nature to want to help them. So there is that difference between, although you can act narcissistic when a narcissist is baiting you into breaking down your boundaries, doesn't make you a narcissist. They do it to take down your boundaries. So there's lots of ways a narcissist will manipulatively take down your boundaries, gaslight you, without even realizing that you are slowly losing them. And it's a bit like being on a ship, being on a boat, and you can be sailing somewhere and you might say something that accidentally criticizes the narcissist without realising you've criticised them. And that provokes that anger in them. Or they might ask you to go and get them a drink because you've only just been to get them a drink, and you kind of might think, oh, well, surely it's your turn. You might have been busy all day, so you might think, well, it's your turn. But they don't agree with that. They want to be in control, and they think that you are the one that should go and get them a drink. And where in a normal relationship there would be that two-way give and take, sometimes one person might not be bothered, another time the other person might not be bothered. You share the responsibility equally in that mutual respect. A narcissist will take it as criticism that they're losing control and they cannot get you to do as they please. They cannot get you to serve them. So if you stand up, they might swing that sail around to knock you flying off the boat into the water, because the boat has the boundary. And when you go into the water, you potentially, if you don't do it safely, that's the danger zone. The narcissist might stand there and watch you struggle for quite a while to put that kind of fear into you. And then they might throw you the buoy and help you back on the boat, and then they'll stand there and they'll say, oh, it was an accident. Oh, I was only messing around. I didn't mean to. Well, it was your fault because you were stood there. You knew that I was shifting the sail. Why did you go into the water? And they'll find ways to shift the blame so it takes it away from the whole situation in its entirety. It takes it away from the build-up. It distracts you from the events of what led to you going into the water, and twists it to it being your fault that you ended up in the water. But then they will come at you with the whole, I saved your life. So now you've got to be obligated to them because they saved your life. I've saved your life. The least you could do is go and get me that drink. And if you don't, you end up feeling guilty. So they get you to feel obligated into helping them do what they want by putting that fear into you, by putting that guilt into you. They guilt trip you. Or they will use triangulation. They will come at you with, my ex would have done that. The ex that they left because the ex apparently was crazy and did this, that and the other to them. But all of a sudden, the ex that was crazy would have done that for them. So you end up questioning who you are as a person, when in reality it doesn't matter whether the ex would do that for them or not. You are not the ex. You are an individual. If you want to do something, do it. If you don't want to do something, you don't do it. In the beginning, they can tell those subtle lies to see how much you buy into them. When you're meeting someone and the stories don't quite match up, we can almost fear through our past, through being trained in our past not to speak up for ourselves. We can almost fear questioning them about something because we don't want to upset them. We don't want to hurt their feelings. Where in reality, if something isn't quite matching up or their explanations aren't matching up, we have every right to ask them about it. And they're the ones that brought the subject up. They're the ones that are telling us this information. We're entitled to ask them for more and create that two-way conversation. And someone that's telling you the truth would be able to continue it. If they try and change the subject or continue it that makes you question more of, it's not quite adding up, that person is not for you. You're not doing it to hurt their feelings. You're doing it to get to know each other. A narcissist will subtly lie just to see how much you will buy into their lies. The less we question them, the more control they have over us. Like I say, we're not questioning them to bring them down, to take them down. An honest person, it's about having that two-way conversation. A narcissist usually takes a question the wrong way because they are lying. So you are questioning their truth, which is actually a lie, which is when they will then get all defensive to protect their lies. A narcissist hates the truth because the truth sounds like hate to those who hate the truth. Isolation is another way a narcissist will take down your boundaries, by isolating you from support and by putting fear into you. So the same as if you go back onto that boat and they take you to that deserted island where you're all alone, and they might covertly threaten with a, what do you think you'd do if I was to just leave you here? Who would you have to support you? So that where they're not actually directly telling you, they're just planting those seeds of doubt into your mind, or the overt way where they will say, well, you'll not survive if I leave you here, and I'm off, I'm going, and they just abandon you. And this is the point where we have to realise we can survive, we can build that raft, we can get back up, we can go again. We might have to grieve, we might have to cry, we might have to scream, we might have to shout, but we can get up day after day after day and go again. They do not have that control or that power over us. There is always a way, we just have to find a safe way. They can also beg and plead and pity play to break down your boundaries, to make you feel that guilt, to get you to sympathise with them and want to help them out. When that doesn't work and they don't get their own way, they can go into the sulks and the silent treatments to try and break down your boundaries. And when that doesn't work, they can go into the anger and the rage to get you to break down your boundaries. We can do that as a person. Often that's because someone is coming at us and coming at us and coming at us and baiting us to try and take our boundaries. And the more we try to keep our boundaries, the more they try to step over the mark. And when people hurt our feelings because we've explained to them once that it hurts our feelings and they do it again, we can fall silent because it's hurt our feelings. A narcissist falls silent to gain control over you. It can be down to the tone of their voice, putting fear into you, either threatening directly or indirectly, putting that fear, that state of shock you into remission, shock you into doing as they please. Or it can just be non-verbal gestures. It can just be the look in their eye when their eyes go and you can see, and that stare can put that fear into you to conform to their demands. When it comes to recreating our boundaries, this is where it can be tricky, because when we have been trained over a long period of time to fear saying no to people, we might come out with stuff like, I'd prefer not to, or we might avoid the conversation entirely so that we don't feel like we're offending someone else. At the moment, we have the rules to keep people safe, that we need to keep distance from people. So it's a bit like going on the beach, setting up your safe zone so that you're keeping a distance and respecting the rules, and someone coming along and you've got your little line around you, someone coming along and swiping out that line, putting their deck chair, their towel, whatever down, and stepping over the boundary line and getting too close to you. You might look at someone and think, I don't really want to argue with you, I don't really want any conflict, and they might be a very, very nice person, but it might put you on that edge. With some narcissists, it's a case of you have to get up, move, go no contact, and block and delete on everything and make sure they cannot get hold of you. With some, you might be able to turn around and say, excuse me, but we're supposed to be keeping like a distance. I'm not saying people on beaches aren't narcissists, it's just for example purposes. But with some, you might be able to say, you've kind of drawn the line there, you've crossed over where you should be. Would you mind moving back? And it's sometimes it's the way you say it to them, and they might. Or you might just move over a little bit. You might think, well, they're not going to listen to me, so I might as well just move over here just a little bit. But then they'll go for a swim in the sea and they'll come back and they'll cross over the line again. So you draw that line in that sand and they will jump over it. So you might move across again and they go for a swim and come back and they jump over that line again. So you move over again, and this goes on until there's no places left on the beach. And at some point, normal human responses, normal human emotions, you're going to get that reaction. You might get angry, you might get annoyed, and you might say something in a not so pleasant way to that person. And then that person's going to stand there, especially a narcissist, is going to stand there all smugly, completely forget everything they've done and just, what's your problem? What's wrong with you? And they're going to make you feel bad for defending your boundary so that they can take down your boundary and achieve what they want. Healthy boundaries are a bit like martial arts. You learn martial arts to defend yourself in the right way. Healthy boundaries are to protect your emotions in the right way. And when it comes to a narcissist, you've got to get to that point where those emotions, where they could pick and poke and prod at you and bait you to get those reactions, bait you to make you feel guilty, bait you to make you feel obligated, bait you to do as they say, bait you into reacting so that they can twist the story onto you. Those emotions, you have to make those emotions no longer available to that person. Sorry, the emotions you're trying to provoke in me are no longer available. Please take your gaslighting elsewhere and let them move on with their life. Boundaries are those martial arts where you physically might need to defend yourself against someone in the right way. Healthy boundaries are to protect and defend your emotions in the right way. They are not to hurt someone. They are not to bring someone down. They are to protect your emotions. They are to protect who you are as a person. They are to protect your values, your beliefs. It's about learning your beliefs, what matters to you, writing a list down of the things that matter to you, the things that you think are important to you. And it doesn't mean you have to make everyone else agree with your beliefs. You can agree to disagree. People can have the same beliefs. The way they go about them are different. When people aren't attacking your beliefs, when people aren't trying to change your beliefs, if those beliefs come with good intentions, they are yours to keep for you. So learning your beliefs, learning your values about who you are as a person, the things you will and will not accept from other people. And it's quite straightforward. If you wouldn't cheat on another person, you don't allow someone to cheat on you. That mutual respect. Now, where a narcissist would not appreciate you cheating on them, yet they can cheat on you. Boundaries will stop you from having these kinds of people in your life. It'll not stop them trying, but it'll stop you getting too far in with them to then have to battle your way back out. We don't drown by falling in the water. We drown by not getting ourselves back out. So it's about learning ways to rescue ourselves before we even go in, to save ourselves before we even fall into that water. If you don't do something, it doesn't mean you have to have a problem just because somebody else lives their life doing that thing. It also doesn't mean you have to invite them into your life. Yes, when it comes to narcissistic people that exploit people and hurt people, I am all for justice. Trying to get justice from a narcissist by explaining to them how they've made you feel is not going to happen. They're just going to use how they've made you feel to twist it around, exploit you, use you, and break down your boundaries some more and crush you even more. Healthy boundaries are physical, mental, and emotional boundaries. Your limits of what you will and will not accept from other people. Remember, you don't have to defend your intentions. If your intentions are good, you do not have to defend them to people. People who are not looking to exploit you will understand you as a person for who you are. People that know you, people that respect you, people that love you will understand who you are. If you make a mistake, then you need to go and apologise. If you've not made a mistake, if your intentions are good, you do not have to defend yourself to people that aren't willing to listen, to people that will use your defence to twist the story and exploit you even more. Don't take the bait from people. When someone is baiting you, that's the hole when you need to learn what they use to trigger your emotions. Recognise exactly what they're using to trigger those emotions within you, recognize their behavior and what they're doing, and breathe in, breathe out, and focus on you and who you are as a person, and deal with that emotion once they have left the building. Don't share too much information about yourself. There's so many people that just aren't interested, and then there's so many people that are glad it's you, and there are so many people that are going to use that information against you. It's good to talk to people, but it's talking with the right people. Don't share too much information with someone you believe to be narcissistic or believe is trying to take down your boundaries, because they will use that information against you. Your personal boundaries are limits, guidelines, rules, behavior based upon your beliefs and based upon your life experiences. And depending on those life experiences, our boundaries can be a bit too soft, because we've been trained to not say no to people for fear of reaction, for being made to feel guilty, being made to feel obligated to help them out. So our boundaries can then become a bit too skewed and a bit too soft, where people will come and take advantage of us because we have that fear of saying no, because we've been trained over a long time to say yes. So we have to work on our history, work on our past, slowly build up the courage and the strength to say no to people, by thinking, if by saying yes to that person is saying no to myself, it needs to be a no. And then we have to stick to that no matter what they try. Even if we have to distance ourselves from that person, we have to stick to that no. We can have spongy boundaries, where sometimes we're a little bit soft and sometimes we're a little bit too rigid. And this is where we can say no, and then they try and gaslight you and guilt trip you, and you can be thinking, oh, was I a bit, okay, then yes. They know then that they just had to work on you a little bit, and then they got what they wanted. Often when people start learning about the disorder or realise what they've been through, even before they've realised, they can become very rigid on boundaries, to the point where they're not going to let anybody in no matter what, and they're going to become very reactive and angry when people try to come at them, because they're trying to protect themselves, they're trying to save themselves, not because they're a narcissist. They're not doing it to exploit people. They've been exploited that many times that their boundaries become very firm, very strong. Nobody is getting in ever again to hurt them. And this can negatively impact your life. It's more about finding the things that work for you and the things that don't work for you. If something isn't going to negatively impact your life, then it's okay to say yes. If it is going to negatively impact who you are, say no. And by saying no to people, you will eliminate toxic people. But don't say no for the sake of saying no's sake. If it doesn't bother you, yes. If it does, no. Starting small, communicating your boundaries. Sometimes someone might do something and you might be best just walking away until you've built up that confidence in who you are as a person, and built up your belief systems and built up your boundaries to be able to speak up for who you are. Sometimes we do have to start small and build those boundaries, or build our communication up with other people about our boundaries. Listen to your feelings. Always trust your feelings. Narcissists are very good at saying you're being too sensitive, you're just overreacting, I was only joking. And it can make us question and doubt ourselves, question and doubt our boundaries, question and doubt our belief systems, when in reality they're saying that to distract us from what they've done, or to distract us from what they are trying to gain from us. If you are feeling sensitive, that's who you are. If someone isn't going to care for your sensitive nature, that someone is not for you. If someone is going to exploit your sensitive nature, that someone is not for you. If someone's going to bait you and push all your buttons until you react, that someone is not for you. People wouldn't if someone saw you overreacting to a situation that cared to you, if they thought you were overreacting to a situation and they cared for you, they would take the necessary steps to try and help you out. So what's wrong? What's happened? How can I help? How can I correct this situation for you? Where a narcissist, if they see you overreacting and you're not overreacting, our minds have been trained over long periods of time to act in certain ways. So if they see you going into that state, a narcissist is going to use that against you. A narcissist will actually set up scenarios on purpose to get you to overreact. So if you don't like driving down dark, scary roads because something happened to you in your childhood, so it puts that panic into you because it triggers those memories, which triggers those emotions, which gets you into that state of hypervigilance, that gets you into that panic. A narcissist will deliberately drive you down them to cause that, to belittle you, to invalidate you, and to chip away at you slowly. Someone that cared for you would try not to take you down there. And if they did, they would explain where you are, where you're going, what you're doing, what the purpose is. They will try to calm you down. They will try and find another route, but if there is no other route, someone who cared would understand and would try to help you through it. A narcissist will not help you through anything. They will only ever help themselves. So boundaries, you draw that line in that sand, and if they cross over it, you either need to walk away from that person, or you need to have the courage to say to that person no. And if they don't keep trying to cross over it, some people can try if they think they're in the right, but they will back down and leave that boundary. Your boundary isn't so that you can overstep the mark onto theirs. It's not so they can step the mark onto theirs. It's that mutual respect. It's a no, and it means no. It's not a no and then let them step over the mark and step over the mark until it provokes those reactions and those emotions in you. It's a no. You need to say your no. You need to mean your no. So learning your values, learning your beliefs, learning the behaviour you will and will not accept from other people by simply learning how you treat other people and how you would not treat other people. So if you wouldn't treat someone a certain way, do not accept that behaviour from someone treating you that way. If you would treat someone a way, then you can accept that behaviour from them because that's who you are as a person. Mutual respect, mutual understanding, healthy boundaries to let people know who you are as a person. I shall add in the description the video on how narcissists take your self-esteem and how to rebuild your confidence, because a part of putting boundaries into place is having that confidence within yourself, within your own beliefs, within your values, having that confidence within your own standards. So I'll add the video in the description on how they take your self-esteem so you can understand how you may feel that way, how you might lack in the confidence, and ways to reclaim your confidence so that you can start building on your boundaries more. I hope everyone has an amazing day. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.